What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another full game review. Here we have a Bonney versus a Lucci. In my first starting hand, you see two Bonnies, two Doflamingos, and one Hody Jones. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan that. In the Bonney versus Lucci matchup, Bonney definitely needs to go a little bit more aggro, because if the Lucci high rolls, a lot of those big drops just aren't going to be able to stick. So we definitely need to go for a bit more of an aggro strategy. We're looking for cards that can't be removed like Hawkins, or cards that give us a little bit more Dawn efficiency like Cavendish. In my second starting hand, as you can see, I have two Bonnies, a Bardo blocker, a Cavendish, and a Zoro. I go ahead and play out that Bonney on one. On the Lucci player, we'll use a Spandum and whiff. On my 3 Dawn turn, I'm going to go ahead and use my Bonney Searcher first, just in case there's any Tempest Kick triggers. Gonna go ahead and get a Hawkins, which is perfect, one of the exact cards I need. I'm going to swing 5 at Lucci, giving that aggression. Lucci players will typically take the first life or two without any countering, just so they can get more in hand. This allows me to use my second Bonney Searcher, which I used to get a Kid, which hopefully if I get a Rosinante has a really good 8 or 9 Dawn turn play, which is much more difficult to remove than just playing a Kid naked or playing a Hody Jones or something else. The Lucci player from here is just going to decide to swing out with his Spandum and his Lucci to kill out my blockers, or my searchers rather, and then he's going to pass. On my 5 Dawn turn, I draw a Hody. With 5 Dawn, I'm going to play the Cavendish, and I'm going to swing 7. I'm not leaving a Dawn up for Bonney's ability because I'm not really concerned about the Spandum swinging this turn. If he wants to use 3 Dawn to swing with his Spandum, I welcome that. This turn, I was a bit unlucky with the 7k swing. He got the stage trigger off life, which allows him to reduce my Cavendish by quite a bit. He reduced by 1 by swinging into my lead, which I take, and then reducing by 2 more by using the stage, which lets him rest 5 to play out the Kaku to KO my Cavendish. This was a bit unfortunate, but it happens. And then he'll pass. Now, for my 7 Dawn turn play, I'm going to swing 5 with Bonney, of course, which he's most likely going to counter out, which he does. There's no real reason for him to keep taking life at this point. He has about like 8 or so cards in hand. I'm going to go ahead and rest 6 and play the Hawkins, which is really vital since it can't be removed. Allows me to be much more aggro. It's pretty rare that Hawkins will be standing at the end of any turn because I'm going to be swinging in with it almost every single time. Now, on the Lucci's 8 Dawn turn play, he has the card that he needs, and he has the Isho, which is honestly the worst card for Bonney to see in general because it reduces my hand size most of the time, and also the -3 is really detrimental to me being able to play larger drops. Now, on my 9 Dawn turn play, this is where I think I make the crucial mistake for this game. Here I swing 6 with my lead, and then 7 with Hawkins, and I ultimately decide to play the Hody Jones. I think this is a mistake because realistically I think I needed to save the Hody Jones for later turns to be able to push for game more effectively and to get that blocker rest in the future. I think more realistically, if he didn't have stage, I think playing Zoro would have been an interesting option, but since he does have stage, I think I should have played the Bardo blocker here and then swung out even larger with my lead and my Hawkins to try to get him down even more life. In this situation, as a result of me playing this Hody early, he now has the ability to potentially take out the Hody Jones with just removal, and then I kind of don't have many good options in my future turns going forward. He swings 10 into my Hawkins. I have to counter out because I can't really let the Hawkins die. It's one of the only characters that I have that I can swing into his life repeatedly. So I give up the Bardo blocker and I give up my 0 cost event along with the Zoro. He swings at my life and I take it. Not going to use the 2k that I have still in hand. And he still has 8 Dawn up, or he has 9 Dawn up. He uses 1 for the Tempest Kick to reduce me to 0. And, of course, with 8 Dawn, you know that he's going to play a Moria, which he does. This really kind of is what you're going to have to expect from playing against a Lucci player. They're probably going to see some variation of this in almost every game you play with them, so it's just something you need to be able to play around. Realistically, I should have played played around it a little better by not giving him a target that had high value to KO on his Moria turn. Now, on my 10 Dawn turn play, I'm in a really tough spot at this point with the Brook. Realistically, I swing 5 at Brook here. I don't really think this matters. I think it would have been better for me to just swing at lead to continue to get cards out of his hands and potentially even take a life. I think this swinging at Brook is pretty inconsequential because if he has another Rebecca in hand or he has another Moria in hand, it's just going to come back. So I don't really think that was a good idea. I think that's another slight misplay, which ultimately you'll see here. I think he had another Brook Grave, so it didn't really matter whether the Brook died or not, but I think freeing up a spot on his board for no reason, which doesn't advance my game state in any ways, just isn't very useful. So ultimately, I think that's a slight misplay as well. Now, he has another Tempest Kick, really unfortunate. He has more than enough cost reduction with a second Moria in order to KO my first Doflamingo. This is just really unfortunate. It happens. This is kind of on the more high roll end for the Lucci player to be able to have an Isho and 2 Morias and the Rebecca and the Brook Grave to be able to do all of this comboing. But once again, I think if I had not played the Hody on the 8 Dawn turn, I would have a lot more options in this spot. Because if at any point a Dofi sticks, or even if it doesn't stick and I'm just swinging 5 at bodies or at his life instead of the Brooks, he would have 2 less counter in hand, and maybe I would be able to push for game in the following turns. But as you can see, because he's able to chain these Morias, he's always going to have a blocker, which means that I really have no effective way of getting counter out of his hand anymore. So now you can see I'm just kind of like spinning my wheels and not really achieving anything. I freeze another 3 bodies, and I don't even swing with the Hawkins this turn because I know I don't have the counter to allow it to survive the Moria swing. So I'd rather just leave all 3 bodies up, hope that he doesn't have any more cost reduction to be able to remove this Dofi, and maybe I can go for game next turn. This is kind of the spot that you see yourself in as a Bonney, especially if you don't play with your Hodys correctly. You end up being kind of on the back foot and just kind of like hoping and praying that your Lucci player doesn't have the cards that they need to win. And this is not exactly the spot you want to be in. Like I said, if I had just maintained having Hody in hand, my ability to push for game here would be much, much higher. But as a result, he has the Helmeppo, he has Stage, he swung, and he's already minus me by 5. And he has Brook along with Isho to just KO my Dofi. And at this point, with my remaining hand, there's not really any way for me to win. I would really have to just hop top deck into a Hody in order to even have a chance, which once again just highlights the point that I shouldn't have played the Hody earlier. So at this point, I don't really have many good options. I think the Lucci player at this point has maybe 5 or 6 in hand. Lucci is a deck that's very prone to brick, so realistically he may only have like 3 or 4k in counter, but spending an entire turn to try to just like remove the Isho or one of his 9ks still ultimately results in me losing, so it doesn't really help my game state in any way. So I think from this spot, the game is pretty lost. But one thing that I think I just have to do is just keep swinging out. I end up playing the 2 blockers here, just hoping that he misplays or hoping that somehow I can survive with 2 bodies on board to maybe go for game, given that I have 2k counter in hand. But as you'll see in the upcoming turn, he's able to swing out correctly and clear my entire board, which ultimately leaves me with nothing to do except concede. And you'll see that as that plays out here.
And as we go through these last swings, let us know if you like this type of video where we go through the positives and negatives of a game, all the misplays and how to avoid them, to try to help players get better. And as always, thanks for watching.